Welcome to the Just Josh podcast.
Who the fuck is this guy? Hey, who the fuck are you? Huh? Who the fuck are you?
This whole thing's a little weird.
Never yet fear, laddie buck.
What's going on, Christian?
Hey, what's up?
How you doing, man?
You know, just hanging in there, man. Trying to, keep my head up through all this craziness that is 2020. We're almost through it.
Have you been able to kind of stay afloat during the year?
Yeah, I just kind of actually, since we're not touring or doing anything right now except writing, I gotta find a way to make some ends meet. So I actually got a job with Schecter Guitars.
Oh, that's fucking awesome, dude.
So I get to,
Great guitars too.
Yeah, they're really cool. And so I just get to hang around all day. And, I work up in the main office. So I'm not really like building them or anything like that.
Right.
Kind of helping the sales team crunch numbers and building, SKUs and stuff like that. So it's cool. I still get to stay relative to the industry.
Yeah. Is that, do you have a degree in like accounting or something like that? Is that how you got that job, or is that just something you've always done?
Well, I went to school for business at first.
Okay.
And then, of course, I switched my major to music.
Right.
So that's where my degree is. And luckily, the way LA works is that, it's, you just meet people, and there's always a friend of a friend of a friend that needs somebody to do something. And so luckily I had a friend I met that knew people that worked at the company and knew about a position that was open, and my skill set matched. So here we are.
That's cool. That's awesome. That's a great gig. And yeah, you do get to stay. I've been trying to find that, and COVID hit. I don't know if you've heard of Six Man before.
Six Man.
They do like the Rock Boat, and they do all those music cruises.
Oh, okay.
Festivals on the sea.
All right.
And I had the interview, and I was ready to go down, and it was right when COVID hit. I think March 15th, I got the call saying they're no longer hiring. So that was there. So that was kind of my way into production, and that's what I really want to get into. I really want to start doing festivals and stuff like that more, less the touring and more try and find like a stable base or a home base, and then still be able to work within the industry and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, you were talking about how, there's always someone out in LA that has a friend of a friend that might need something, or, you meet people just through that. I assume you left Baltimore to pursue music, and was it everything you thought it would be moving out there? Meaning like it's just access to so many more options because there's so many more bands. There's so many like-minded people that are trying to make it in the entertainment industry or in the music industry.
Yeah. It's not that far off from my expectations. The main thing, people run into, when they come to LA, they think, oh, I'm just going to come here and I'm going to be a rock star, and that's going to be that. And that's like a fatal flaw. Like that's just,
for sure.
I don't recommend coming to LA if that's kind of what you're thinking, because you really got to put the work in and hustle. And it's going to help you if they don't see you helping yourself first, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's just lots of like-minded people out here. It can be, competitive, but I think that's good. Iron sharpens iron, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, but, as far as folks in the industry, like I said, if you're working hard and people see that, I mean, everybody's, for the most part, willing to help.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot that there, along with that, even though there is more options, there is also more competition. But I would like to hope it's like a lot of the music scenes, the local ones that you get into. Obviously, LA is a different story, but I would say for the most part, it always blew my mind, and it still does. And I guess even as a manager, someone that, is pursuing management and helping bands, I was surprised. I was a little naive to that aspect, that there would be people out there that would say untrue things or be negative or go behind your back because they feel like your competition. But I've always felt, and I always got into the industry for the love of it and knowing, like thinking that we should work together.
Yeah, man.
You know, it's already a hard enough, like the service industry, it's already a hard enough industry, retail. So why make it harder? You know, we should be working together. And especially because when it comes down to it, you know, technology and everything's changed so much that we're not selling. Like, I'm sure when you first started a band, we were, you know, you're making like your mixed CDs, burning the CDs and like selling them for $5 or doing what you, or even just giving them out for free, obviously, you know, and now it's all streaming. So it's such a different kind of industry.
Yeah, it's a completely different world. But I mean, you know, those same concepts, you know, still kind of apply. You know, you just
Mm-hmm.
get out there and get your stuff out there. And number one, I mean, the reason why we do this is because we love it. You know what I mean? It's for the love. And you know, I just kind of feel like if you're in the music game for any other reason than you love it, then you should just get the hell out right now.
I do think it also comes down to having somewhat of a business sense too, and kind of being well-rounded. I meet
Yeah.
so many artists that come to me and they'll say, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. You know, I love music and, you know, we're willing to put in the time. But then when it comes down to it, they're not really willing to put in the time and they don't really see the sacrifice, or maybe they're a little naive to the business. They see the bright lights. They want to open up for those bands instead of being like, well, I want to be the band that other people want to open up for, and I'm willing to put in the time to do it. And at the core of it is my love for music, you know?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's just, you know, that's just it, and it'll go to show you, like, you know, who talks about it and who is about it. Because, I mean, like, you know, as a musician, like, I spend hours a day practicing every day.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to put that commitment into it. And some people, yeah, some people might not be as willing to sacrifice their social life or, you know, whatever they got to like put the time in and really put the work in. And, you know, it all goes back into what I was saying before about that work ethic. I mean, you got to have it to be there. And that's step one. But to your point about it being a business, this is also correct. I mean, if you want to make a living out of it, then you have to find a way to make it profitable, because at the end of the day, if you're doing something and it's not making you money, it's just a hobby. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, for sure. I just, you know, I just think it's, I think one of the things, and did you get to see the Kanye West interview with Joe Rogan?
no, you know what? I missed that. You know, and that's one of those like sacrifices, like movies and you know, interviews and shit like that. Like, I miss it a lot of times because my focus is on like what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I bring that up because kind of to your point about the business, something I've been working on is this app, and it's really just to streamline your finances and then, you know, grow it. You know, there's so many more levels to this app than just this, but at the base of it, it's an app that I wanted to use for the band, so they never had to come to me and say, well, where's our money, or how is this split up, or where is this? It's all right in front of them. But then on top of that, you get their numbers for tour, they can book their own shows, they can link up with other artists that are on the app, you know. So I really feel like, and the purpose of that is not to take away money from Spotify or other places. It's to put more money in the artist's pocket. You know, there's such a disparity in the music industry to where, you know, so much of the good talent's never going to get seen because there's so many other aspects to it other than just writing good music.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, how can we get more money? And, you know, and this way you can sign up and you can get your artist rights and royalties, different things like that, all through the same app. And really, you know, it's not to take away money. It's just, again, to make it more fair for everyone. So the record company's still getting their money and the managers and the agents are still getting their money, but the artists are able to pocket their own money and do what they need to do. Because at the core of it, if they're struggling all the time, you're not going to get the most out of them. You're not going to get the best out of them. You know, I really tried. I think I know it's cliche to say, but I feel it's so true. And it's really why I got into management, putting the artists first and actually what's best for that individual band. You know, I see a lot of managers that kind of have the template and they're like, oh, okay, do this and do this. And they think they know everything. When it comes down to it, it's such an individual thing. You know, how long have they been together? How much, you know, how professional are they, et cetera, like that. But going back to the impact on technology and stuff like that, I don't know. I don't know if you still do, but I think we grew up in an age where we still had CDs. I even had tapes when I was younger. Like I still have a tape deck here that I use. No joke.
Yeah, I had tapes. I had even some 8 tracks and vinyl when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
And couple reasons, I guess. Growing up, we were always a little technologically behind. Didn't always have the means to have the latest stuff. So, playing Atari into the early 90s.
No, I was too. I was only I still had a Razor into college, I'm pretty sure. Like I still didn't have a smartphone in college, I don't think.
Yeah.
I was way late to that game.
Yeah, no, I like iPhone. I didn't get an iPhone until like 2012 sometime.
Yeah.
So, a couple iterations. Like I think the iPhone 4S was my first one.
Yeah, I was gonna say around the 4, but it might have even been the 7. I might not have gotten an iPhone until like the 7.
Dude, I just read it in the Hollywood Reporter that Christopher Walken, he's like one of my favorite actors.
Oh, he's so good.
And he to this day has never owned a cell phone or
saw that.
And I'm like, man, I mean, that's like this
That's
whole
the dream
of unbothered. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That is crazy, dude, to think about that. And yeah, I remember reading that article. That's so funny. And he would be the guy to do that. And I think the guy asked, like, well, how do people get in touch with you? Like, I don't know. They call my agent or they call my wife or my daughter or something.
Yeah. So when he's like working on, a film or something, like they'll give him a cell phone to use and has to have like other people dial it for him because he doesn't know what the hell he's doing with it. But
right.
I'm like, shit.
That's so funny. I apologize because the Zoom, when one person's like, even if I'm quiet and I'm just like, oh, huh, it'll cut you out. So I apologize. I'm trying to make sure that we get everything you're saying in here. But, speaking of actors, since we're doing it, since you're out in LA and everything, one of my favorite actors, and I think, in my opinion, like the entertainer of the year for this last year was Pedro Pascal, from Game of Thrones and Mandalorian. Do you watch Mandalorian?
I didn't watch Mandalorian only because, dude, I've never seen a single Star Wars film. Ever. I'm like completely out of my element with that. But I did watch Game of Thrones.
Okay, so you know who he is, and he was recently in the Wonder Woman movie that just came out the other day too.
Okay,
he plays the bad guy, and so when I see people like The Rock, for instance, great guy, hard worker, and even funny in some of his movies. But anytime I see a movie he's in, it just seems like it's The Rock playing The Rock in a different movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas Pedro Pascal, it was crazy because I knew he was in Wonder Woman. I'm sitting there and I'm looking at him and I'm watching him on the screen. And it wasn't until it was over that I realized, oh shit, that was Pedro Pascal because he's such a good actor. Like he transforms into that character. But yeah, I highly recommend. So Mandalorian is the type of show that if you're one of those people, which is rare, like even I've seen a few Star Wars. And here's the thing, I have my friend Bobby from Tropodelic coming on, the guitarist for Tropodelic, huge Star Wars fan, and he just wants to talk like Star Wars and stuff like that. And so these last like week or so, I've just been watching nonstop Star Wars, nonstop, to catch up because I watched the movies, when they released or at least on video at some point. But like I never watched any of the animated series, which apparently, even though it's animated, still ties into all the storylines and stuff. So it's still, part of the overall arc. And Clone Wars is one of those that everyone loves and was such a great thing. But I never saw that. So I'm trying to catch up on that. But what I was going to say is that Mandalorian is the type of show where you don't have to have seen any Star Wars and you'll just love it. It's just a great, well-written Jon Favreau, show.
Wow. So it's kind of like like an offshoot then.
Yeah. It kind of ties like the first 3 movies, the main one that everyone remembers from like the 80s or whatever, or whenever it came out.
Now, when you say the first 3, do you mean the first 3 in the series or the first 3 that were produced? Because it's my understanding that like they started with like the 4th one or something.
Right. So you're right. So I correct myself there. See, I need to brush up before I start talking to Bobby about this stuff. But what it is that the first, so before the first 3 that came out, but 4, 5, and 6, and after 1, 2, and 3. So it shows kind of like, I'm pretty sure. See, you know what? I guarantee we're getting this wrong. I'm gonna have to look it up after we're done. And if I'm wrong, I'm just cutting this out because I'm gonna get cancel cultured from all the Star Wars fans out there that are like, dude, come on, you know this. I actually do have a Mandalorian. Hold on, let me see. Okay, yeah. So episode 1, episode 2, and episode 3, which are the in real life, came out 4, 5, and 6 after the first ones, but they started with the first ones. So So it goes episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, and then it goes Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. And then Mandalorian comes after it. So it comes after it takes place after the original ones that came out.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So after Yoda and all that stuff. So that means that the baby Yoda could have been like Yoda's baby or something. I don't know how they reproduce. And I always thought he was the last one of his kind, so I don't know. And then all these other ones, the Clone Wars, like Solo, Star Wars Rebels and stuff I haven't seen any of these. Like Rogue One is another one here. I just have to go back and watch all these in a row, I feel like.
How much are they going to milk this franchise for?
I don't know. Well, there's more coming out. So there's another 5 different spin-offs coming.
Jeez. Yeah, it's like, who has, like, I don't have that kind of time to invest.
I don't either, but sometimes I'll have it on in the background, like while I'm editing videos and whatnot. Well, the other big, is Marvel. They're doing all the Disney stuff too. So it's like Star Wars and Marvel, and they're all doing the Disney Plus stuff. And there's actually a lot of really good shit. I hate to admit that because I am kind of anti watching too much TV. But I will definitely get caught down the rabbit hole sometimes. What I started to say before too was when we were talking about streaming and stuff, how technology's changed. I started to ask you that because I don't stream because I refuse to pay Spotify when they're like gypping the artist so much and they're giving cents and cents on the dollar, So it's like, even though I get it and people are like, well, that's just the way it is. I'm like, no, it doesn't have to. Like, I'm surprised that artists haven't found a way to kind of unionize and kind of work together to say, okay, we understand that Spotify is a great way to market and a great way to get your music out there, especially if you're not, a huge celebrity, but there's got to be a better way, or there's got to be, some other way to account for the music that you put out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and there was like this little window of time where it was like the wild, wild west, what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it seems, and I think that's part of the thing is that the industry changes at such a rapid pace, right? That what happened 6 months ago, like, isn't even like relevant to today. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Like, for instance, we'll take this whole coronavirus thing. In January, February, right? People were, booking tours, blah, blah, blah. And then boom, March, this thing just goes crazy. And now this has changed how actually it's brought the industry to a halt.
Yeah.
To a screeching halt. And so now, we're all trying to figure out other ways. Now there's like, these live Zoom shows and, talking about like bringing back concerts, but everybody's in a bubble and stuff like that. So it's true today, might not be true 6 months from now.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I think it's, the reason, I don't know, artists haven't really like, I guess, banded together.
Right.
I don't know. It's just it's kind of like every man for himself out here.
Like, yeah, but it's just like, we can't fight the industry. And like, I just hate that it's still corporate. Like, everything's always big pharma, like even medical marijuana. Now there's like 3 companies that own every single license in the United States, pretty much.
Now, I do think that, the way, money is made these days, it's kind of shifted from record sales. It used to be that you would like tour to sell the record.
Right.
It's kind of like around. When you get out there on the road, it's like, your big money maker is kind of merch.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so stuff like that. So there, it's just, there's just other ways to go about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like there's got to be a way. And people keep saying there's not, but I'm like, there's a first person that said there's got to be a way. Like, I think we're too accustomed. This kind of goes back to a topic I've said on a few podcasts where, from ages 1 to 3, kids think at like a genius level because from ages like 4 till about 17, they're always being told no, or that's impossible, or you can't do this, whereas I think the people that kind of come up with those next generation things don't think like that. And they're just like, well, why not? And even if something wasn't physically possible, okay, so what's the alternative? It gets you thinking of what is the alternative if that is impossible,
Yeah, definitely. And, it's kind of sad too that, in this day and age, a lot of people out there, it's like when there's a problem or they're faced with a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
the response is kind of like, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
or to fight with each other. Like, I don't get into politics on the show, but I mean, that's a perfect example of where I just find it so funny. Like, even today, someone posted a very extreme post, and he's a good guy. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, you doing that is like almost hypocritical, because what you're pointing at them for doing is the same thing. I just see fingers going like this on both sides, but yet I'm like, especially when whoever who it could be Democrat or Republican, when someone calls someone else a sheep, I'm sitting there like, don't you get it? You're all sheep. We're all sheep. We're all part of this thing that is meant to keep us fighting and not, and to keep society a certain way so that rich people can stay rich. Like, if you don't see that by now and you're just arguing, like, you're an idiot. It's just so weird to me. Like, I don't know, but you can't, I don't know. I'm trying to get to the point where I'm above that. And so even saying anything doesn't bother me. But sometimes I do. Sometimes I just want to say it. Like, don't you see what you're doing here by calling them a sheep? Like, you look like more of a sheep than they do. Getting back to kind of out there, just because, for the longest time, dude, I wanted to move out to LA, and I still might to a degree. It's just I've had a few instances where, long story short, I was supposed to move out with this one guy. He was like, yeah, no problem. But apparently, long story short, the whole time he apparently wasn't that serious, and he had gotten another job in a different city and was basically moved out and like left without telling me. I had one of those rider trucks packed with all my shit,
Jesus.
ready to move out. And then he finally, after like me bugging him for like 2 weeks when I didn't hear from him, suddenly he was like, oh yeah, I took a job in San Fran, so I'm training and stuff, but I didn't say anything because I wasn't sure. And then I'm like, dude, you could have told me months ago that you had applied, or this could be a thing.
Yeah, that's kind of shit.
Yeah, so I guess it worked out in the end, but that's what I'm afraid of, because it's not like I'm moving on the East Coast. I'm moving literally across the country. So I would need, and also pit bulls. I have 2 pit bulls and they're sweethearts, but it's hard to find a place that doesn't want to charge you out the ass for having dogs, especially 2 of them, especially that breed. I'm pretty sure I was looking at apartments and they wanted an extra $500, not deposit, a month to have the pit bulls. I was like, what? I'm like, that's more than an apartment in New York, like a condo in New York and Manhattan. Like,
yeah, I love out here, man. Like I have a cat and a dog, and it was just a $500 deposit for each of them, and I don't have to pay pet rent or anything.
Yeah, that's what it should be. I don't mind paying like a deposit per animal or give them a deposit up front, but I'm not paying them per month thing.
Huh. Yeah,
do you have any when you move, do you have any roommates, or do you have your own place there?
No, I live alone. I have just those 2, my dog and my cat. Those are the roommates.
I was gonna say, your apartment looks pretty nice for an LA place. So is it cheaper? Is it about the same as Baltimore? Because Baltimore's pretty expensive for like how shitty it is.
No, it's especially like right here in central Hollywood, like like if I walk out my front door, like I'll be at like the Jimmy Kimmel show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's pretty expensive here just because of the location.
Yeah. But it's nice that you're able to do the music stuff and make a living and be able to afford that, especially with this year, because I know some of my touring compadres literally haven't seen a paycheck since like a year ago.
Yeah, bro. It's just, and not only that, not only like on our side, but especially like the independent venues, man, they're like really hurting right now.
What pisses me off the most about this whole thing, and I think it extends to like restaurants and stuff like that, is the fact that these venues and these restaurants went and did everything they were told. They made sure it was safe, and then they're getting told to shut down again.
Yeah,
Like it's pretty much shut down in California, right?
oh yeah, yeah. They shut it back down. We did have like some outdoor dining and outdoor bars for a while. Still no venues, and that's the other thing of it too. It's like even when that stuff was open, kind of the venues still can't open because it's not like you can sell carry out music.
Yeah.
So,
And also, it's like even if they were allowed to be open, they were talking like a lot of these were at like 25% capacity with like sit down only is pretty much. And it's like, well, we can barely survive when it's full capacity. Like, how do you expect to do that now?
some of these other venues, right? 25% capacity, whatever. Like to do that would cost them money to operate. So
Right.
it doesn't make sense to open them.
I've always wanted to open up a venue/bar, but do it right, be very artist friendly, but expect them to be pro too, have a nice facility, have consistent workers, and just make it a place that people really want to come to. But I mean, venues are so hard. It's just like a restaurant. It's like, yeah, I know I could be successful. At the same time, there's just as much chance of it going under like that, so I don't know. Maybe one day. I really do want to do that. And it doesn't have to be huge. Like I don't need it to be like a 3,000 to 6,000 person venue. Like even like 1,200 people tops, even less. Like even an 800 venue with a lot of space would be fine. As long as I could get. It had enough space that the bigger artists, if they weren't arena tours, would still want to come and play in a smaller setting if need be.
Like what's that one in DC? Anthem.
Oh yeah, dude. Did you? They built that after you left, right? You've been out in LA for like a good 5 years, if not longer.
No. When they built that, like I was in town, like maybe like the first month it opened or something like that. But
did you get to go any shows there?
Didn't get a chance to do any shows there. Like I just I've seen pictures of it and it looks like a beautiful venue. And the brilliance of it is that it's adaptable, right? Like the capacity levels and.
So what they did is the two guys, I read the article that they did, and they said how they went, they're music fans. So they've been to like a lot of big venues and have been to a lot of venues all over the world. And they basically said they took the best parts from each venue, like, oh, I love this about this venue, or I love this about this. And it was really important that every single seat was a good seat, no matter where you were sitting, like no pillars in front of you. Like I went to Madison Square Garden, and where I was sitting, dude, I could barely see the stage because they had another row of like seats right in front of the stage. I'm like, why is there another thing here? But and then they made it. So what they did was, you said they made it adjustable. So they took the stage and said, we want to be able to do it so that the anthem or the theater, the arena bands can come in and then they can bring their own stage, and it's big enough to set that up too. Yeah. Now they couldn't do a huge stage, but they were just saying like it needs to be adaptable for bigger artists and smaller artists. And it really is a great venue. I mean, I can't say enough nice things about it.
What was a beer cost in that place?
I don't remember. I don't really drink anymore. I mean, I do. Don't get me wrong. If I'm out or partying or someone hands me a beer, but I just, as I get older, my body doesn't recover the same as it used to when I was younger.
I feel that.
Also, financially, it's like, man, with like you said, how expensive beers are. It's just like I can do without. Honestly, that'll save me $100 at a show.
True.
Like, 311 day, it was like $14 a beer.
That's insane, man.
Something crazy. And I'm like, well, aren't you just renting out the place? You're not actually like, there's got to be a way to make like 311 outside of the venue. They were selling their own 311 beers and they had different things. And it was like $6 for like a nice big can. So it was decent. It's still expensive, but not 14. Jesus. It was just crazy for a regular beer. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts, man. Yeah, they shoot, man. When I went to go see the Ravens absolutely dismantle the Rams last year, I went to that game.
That's awesome. That's on my list to talk about too, which is funny you brought that up. Do they have a lot of Ravens bars, or have you been meeting up with other Ravens fans out there?
Oh, so we have a whole thing. We have it's called the Ravens West Wing.
No, that's awesome.
A whole flock of West Coast Ravens fans. We were meeting at a bar called the Parlor in Hollywood last year, and it's funny. The week I come home for a visit, like I think it was over the holidays, Jonathan Ogden shows up.
Oh wow, yeah,
hangs out because like a lot of former NFL players that are in town go there,
right,
and watch the games and stuff because they have like every game on and they're fans of. But we had like a whole section of the bar just for us. And then this year they were going to move it to a bar on Sunset Boulevard called the Trocadero, which remember that linebacker we had, Pico? We had him last year for the season.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he and his wife own that bar.
Oh, must be nice.
Coronavirus hit, and
that sucks.
So we didn't really. I think they had a couple weeks where they were operating and having people for games, but I didn't want to risk it. I already had coronavirus once this year anyway.
Really? Now, did you have any crazy symptoms? Sorry, I don't think I've talked to anyone that's actually gotten it yet.
Yeah, I had all of the crazy symptoms. I mean, when people ask about, I tell them that, imagine the worst hangover you've ever had in your life while you have the worst flu you ever had in your life, with a dash of pneumonia, and you can't taste or smell anything.
Man, people, I just don't know. Even if you don't give a fuck, it's just like, I don't see how you can say this is all like fake and shit. Like, it's just weird to me. Being out in LA, let me ask you this, because I've been out there a few times, and I feel like it's New York. I know there's a lot of celebrities there, but I don't always see them. And I know the big ones probably have people that do shit for them, but have you gotten to meet any celebrities or say hi just through even work or other things like that?
Yeah. Like, so towards the beginning of this pandemic, I was kind of figuring out what I was going to do because, there was no work. Mm-hmm. And so I started actually driving for Postmates. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm driving around and I get this ping, right? And it tells me to go to this Indian restaurant. So I do that and I pick up probably about $200 worth of Indian food.
Wow.
And the customer's name is LR, just LR. Normally it has somebody's full name, but this is just LR, right? So I pick up this food and I put the thing in the map and I go to the address, and it's this big, huge, fucking sprawling mansion. Mm-hmm. And then security calls in and blah, blah, blah. And I go in, it's Lionel Richie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Right? Like the King of Kings, man.
Yeah. And I mean, this house is like a freaking palace. The only thing is I just wish that, hindsight's always 20/20. When he came to the door, I wish I would have asked him, was it me you're looking for?
But at the same time, he's probably glad you didn't, because he probably gets that.
Right. He probably gets that all the time.
So the fact that you didn't probably stuck out in his mind more than if you did,
Yeah.
I feel like I've done that to someone. I mean, I've gotten to meet a lot of people that I was like, oh man, that's pretty cool. Like, I used to like listen to you in college, when I was like studying for tests and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, but I wasn't sure if like LA, because I would assume also, even though they have people to do it, since LA is so star-studded, that walking around is a normal thing too, because everyone almost is a celebrity. So it's just like the norm.
Yeah. And it is, it's just, there are people
aren't going to flock them. They'll just.
But sometimes things will get extra. Like I always hang out. There's a bar on the Strip called the Rainbow, which is where all of us, aging rockers go, and then the tourists come and flood it on the weekends. So if you're ever in town and you want to go to the Bow, do it on like a Wednesday night. That's, or sometime during the week. So one time I go in there, and for no particular reason, Dave Mustaine and Post Malone are bartending.
That's funny. That's crazy.
I think Dave Mustaine had a beer that he was releasing or something he wanted to promote. But I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I like Post Malone. I do. He's super talented too, because I've watched a lot of his guitar stuff too. Um, I don't know. That one album where I saw him in concert and I literally like was falling asleep because it was a lot. It was. I think he played a lot of his slower jams or his more. He didn't do as much rap or other stuff too. But he's not really a rapper either.
Yeah,
Especially
after
like R&B to me.
I think that he needs to like. I mean, I get what he's doing is successful, but it would be
Yeah.
cool to see him just be in a band.
Yeah. Yeah,
But,
because I think he'd do. I think he would be just as good.
yeah, if not better.
Like, do you think technology is the reason that music changed to more of an electronic thing? Like, if we didn't have computers and buttons for people to push, I feel like EDM almost kind of like,
It's kind of like a chicken or the egg question. You know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean?
Would it have come anyway?
Yeah, I kind of find like these instrument like these software instruments and stuff. It's more of a just a tool, and I find it like people are just finding just new and different ways to express themselves. We all know that guitars and analog shit, drums, bass, that's been around forever, and I think it's just more about just searching for
Different
something.
avenues,
Yeah,
different ways to create. Yeah, that makes sense. If you think about it, because like, we're used to guitars and stuff as being the main medium. And now that we do have, because I mean, I'm using it right now with this. I have a pad and different things like that for sound effects.
yeah.
So,
I mean, it's something that's been going on since forever. Like, for instance, like the Soundgarden song "Spoon Man," that's actually about and they brought the guy into the studio, a dude that would hang out in Seattle and just play the spoons.
right.
And so people are always trying to find different things and make different sounds to just create their own brand of music.
Yeah. And I don't want to say that like I'm hating. I think that word hating gets thrown around way too much. I cannot like something or say something without it being negative or hating on someone.
Or you can dislike something without discounting what it is.
Hustle. Yeah, like I can respect someone's hustle and still not like. I remember saying something about Machine Gun Kelly, and it wasn't even negative. And someone's like, "Yo, you stop hating. At least he fucks Megan Fox." I'm like, "What does fucking Megan Fox have anything to do?" That's the lamest thing to say. First of all, you're devaluing Megan Fox and you're making her out to be a piece of.
You're objectifying Megan Fox.
And then two, no, it's just that, to me, it's just fake pop punk and he's just, and I love that Michael's music goes in cycles. So I was kind of hoping for like rock and heavy music and stuff to kind of come back around. But like,
I think it will.
Yeah, me too. But I think MGK is not the person to do it. Even though he's working with Travis Barker, me saying that I wasn't a huge fan of the music he's been putting out recently doesn't mean I'm hating. Doesn't mean I don't like the guy because he's not. First of all, I think he's a great actor. Do you see the Motley Crue?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, dude, that's so good.
I just feel like maybe it's just, him carrying that torch, it might not be perceived as genuine. You know what I mean? Because, he's not.
I also don't think he has the greatest singing voice. That's just my opinion. I mean, he's okay.
But he was introduced to the public as like a rapper, right?
Well, yes. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, wait. So, like, that was another thing I posted. I posted that thing where he wore that like pink dress suit with like pearls to the thing, and then there was another one where he had all those tattoos and a wife beater and stuff as a rapper. And the meme said, before Eminem dissed him, after Eminem dissed him.
Right.
And I posted it because it was funny because it was more about Eminem than it was about MGK to a degree. Like, but someone made it out to be that I was like hating on like not transsexuals, but his right to express himself. And so I'm like, whoa. First of all, I didn't make the meme. Second of all, it has nothing to do with what he's wearing, like that it's wrong. It's just funny because it made him look more feminine after Eminem dissed him, which is not saying anything about his masculinity or anything else like that. It was saying that he went from rap to like this like pop or whatever is basically what it's saying. Like,
that kind of opens up another like. You ever get the feeling that like, man, society these days has just gone soft?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like okay, so that is another thing. I certainly believe in everyone's right. I think we all need to treat everyone with respect. I think that's an easy thing that we can all do. However, that doesn't mean I can't like some of the comedians I used to like you could never play their shit now because it
you can
would be
never watch.
way
Like,
too
yeah, imagine if Blazing Saddles, for instance, and I know it's extreme, but what if that movie were released today? Holy shit!
like the fact it's so funny because I grew up watching Tropic Thunder, that movie.
Yeah,
And then I guess in the last 2 years is when it started to get heat again. I'm like, that's the funniest movie I've ever seen in my life. And Robert Downey Jr. did such a good job of portraying it without being racist. Like only he could pull that off. Dude, do you follow like okay, here's another when we're talking about hating and stuff. I I'm not hating their hustle because I think Jake Paul and Logan Paul obviously they make a lot of money and they like, but that doesn't mean I can't still hate the way they do it. Like to me, it's gimmicky and to me, it's stupid. Like I'd rather be. It's easy to ride like one of my management our t-shirts. It says "Ride your own coattails" because
right.
it's so easy to just, especially with musicians or managers, whatever. Like bands will say, "Oh, I want to open for this band." I'm like, why are you trying to ride their coattails? Why don't you just concentrate on you so that people want to ride your like make other people want to ride your coattails? But those two guys, like on one hand, it annoys me because I do think it's funny. I might even have a video here. Like everyone thinks they're a public figure these days, and their profile is like, oh, I'm a public figure. I'm a public figure. I'm like, no,
But,
bitch, you're not a
but
public figure. Now you can see here, like, these are public figures.
right,
You have a check mark next, and not the social media influencers that have the check marks next to the name. I mean, like these people are not the like, I don't know. It's just so funny. And I think that ties back into society and stuff. But as far as Jake Paul and stuff like that, man, those guys know how to make money, dude. And they know how to troll. He is so good at trolling. Whole like that's where I respect them. I still think it's gimmicky and I still think it's stupid. And it's just like YouTube's made everyone in their mind think they're a star. But like if you were walking around a city, would anyone know who the fuck you are? No. So if no one knows who you are, you're not a public figure. Stop saying that. I hate that.
unless you're doing your job right,
Right.
and you want them to know who you are. If you
Right.
are
But yeah, Jake Paul and them, man, they've been in the headlines recently, and he got a lot of heat for that Japanese forest thing he went to. Do you remember that?
yeah, I remember that. That's
That's when it turned me off, and I was just like, "Fuck this dude." But apparently everyone still watches him, and everyone loves his brother.
they'll do anything for likes, comments, and shares.
It's hard not to get caught up in that because that's what is making other people money. You almost think that's how you have to do it, and I've just tried so hard not to be that guy. Obviously this podcast is nothing. It's for fun. Like I'm not making money off of this. It's because I like talking to people. And I feel like, especially with the music industry this year, I ramped it up and I made it nicer because I'm like, I really want to give artists and other people a chance to get some content for free. If they can't be making money, let's try and do something else. Are you a wrestling fan at all? Did you watch wrestling when you were young, at least?
I used to when I was young. Yeah, I was a WCW fan,
Yeah.
and
Monday Night Wars.
yeah, like NWO Wolfpack was my jam, and I also love Sting.
Dude, Sting's the man. I think he just returned recently to
Yeah,
AEW.
yeah, I was reading like he was in some other wrestling.
He was
program.
with WWE like 2 years ago,
Mhm.
but then Seth Rollins threw him against the buckle and he like almost like paralyzed him. So WWE's like, we don't want to risk it. Like you're like a legend. We can't have you dying in the ring. So they were like, they pretty much wouldn't greenlight him. And he was kind of forced to retire too after the injury, but I guess he just came back. So, but it's crazy. So it's one of my guilty pleasures because I watched it when I was super young and I was already grown out of it by like 6th grade or something like that, 7th grade. It was like when I was super young. My dad took like me and some of my friends to some of the wrestling events. And I remember growing out of it, because music pretty much took over all my life, music, and then sports and stuff like that. And I got to the point where I stopped watching wrestling for like 20 years. I didn't watch it until maybe 2 years ago. And it just happened. I turned it on, and like Becky Lynch, I guess it was an episode where they invaded Raw, like SmackDown invaded Raw, and she legit got punched in the face. So there was like blood everywhere. She like had a broken plate in her face. I'm like, I don't remember WWE being this bloody, because I think when I started to get out of it was the end of the Attitude Era with Stone Cold and The Rock.
Yeah.
And they started doing like the very family and cheesy stuff and like really gimmicky stuff. And it just turned me off. But now that they're on Fox too, they've made it more of a sports thing and less on the storylines.
Yeah, I guess they're trying to compete with UFC.
NFL and all those other things. UFC, yep. Well, a lot of the UFC, they have about, I would say about 8 to 12 UFC fighters in WWE now.
Oh, yeah.
So Brock Lesnar being the big one. Is that your kitty?
Yeah, that's Mr. Cat.
That's what you named him, Mr. Cat?
Mr. Cat or Senor Gato or
Senor Gato is a good one. We'll wrap this up in a little bit, but on the entertainment news, have you gotten to see Doom Patrol? I would assume not.
No, I haven't seen that.
So it's a DC Marvel thing, but the thing I like about it is that Brendan Fraser is kind of came back.
Oh, I was wondering what happened to him. I watched Blast from the Past a couple weeks ago.
Dude, he was in some great movies, and even The Mummy was really good back in the day, and like he was in some good comedies too.
Yeah, what a guy.
Dude, well, do you know what happened?
No, I don't know the whole story.
Yeah, so that's what I actually had as a thing, because I was watching Doom Patrol. First of all, Doom Patrol is so well written and it makes fun of itself, but not in a cheesy way where they're just outright making fun of themselves. Like, it's just, if you get a chance, watch an episode if you can, and it's hilarious. But so Brendan Fraser in like 2003, I think the president of the HF, whatever, the one that does like the award shows and stuff like that, the president, like grabbed his junk and stuff and like started like massaging him. And so he was basically sexually assaulted. And, the whole story was like, he says it was a joke. It wasn't like anything. And Brendan was like, I'm the one that was sitting there and felt uncomfortable. And so he said that kind of made him kind of become more reclusive. And then the offers stopped coming in because one, that the president probably blackballed him. Like him and like Harvey Weinstein and all them probably like blackballed him to a degree. And then he also, because of that, he just became more recluse and like didn't want to work in the industry. So just over time, all the offers just stopped coming. And it sucks because it's like, and the reason I bring that up is because I feel like there's a stigma that men can't have feelings, or we can't feel like we're being exploited or taken advantage of, because there's like that masculinity factor with other people, and especially when it comes to sexual assault. And there's all this, Me Too movement and all that, but it's like, I know a lot of guys that it's probably more equal than people think. It's just less guys come forward, or we don't hear about stuff like that. And I just think it's such a shame that someone like Brendan Fraser felt like,
right, especially when there's
like lose what he loved to do because he didn't feel like anyone would believe him, where it was like demasculating.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like we've been conditioned to think a certain way, like in terms of masculinity and femininity, and it's like even to that, like say if like who's more likely to believe that I'm a guy and I just got raped?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Especially like even like imagine if it would have been a woman.
Yeah,
it
would have been like, oh my god, so why isn't it the same reaction?
Yeah, or like or a woman that assaults a man, it's still, if it's unwelcome.
And look, man, these days there's some women out there that kick my ass in a heartbeat. So it's not like that, women aren't on. I just feel like if you want to talk about equality, then it needs to be equal all the way around.
Yeah.
It can't just be one way. And that's not, and I know it's two dudes sitting here talking. So females, if they're listening, probably these guys don't know what they're talking about. But my
Yeah.
premise is still valid. Like, you know, what I'm trying to say is that, like, I hate that I support women's rights, but yet all I see are memes and about how men are pigs and stuff like that. And it's like, well, if you're gonna call me a pig, then it's like, should I even support what you're saying? You know, like sometimes I know it's not all like that. And again, I think this is what I think. I think the world really isn't that bad, but we're always seeing the extremes on social media. So we think things are a lot worse. And that does bring out the crazies. But I'd like to think that most Americans are somewhere down the middle. And we believe in treating people with respect, but also not necessarily just handing out free shit. But at the same time, we also understand we live in a racist society that was built on racism, and we have a long way to go to, fix laws and the way things are done.
It's interesting that you say that because I have a theory. I think that like a lot of the problems in our society, I think social media has greatly exacerbated those problems and amplified them, especially because people, I guess, I don't know what the psychology is behind it, but it's like when they get behind the screen of a computer or on their phone, they take off their mask. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
And
See the real them.
yeah, so I think a lot of the ugliness in our society is exposed, and I think it kind of boils over into the real world. I when I was it's like when I was younger, it seemed like society was a bit more polite,
Mm-hmm.
but
You didn't have to like someone, but you would at least have somewhat of a like public respect.
yeah.
It
Now,
wasn't
granted,
brazen like hatred.
in other ways though that we've come such a long way.
Yeah.
A lot of there's good and bad with it.
Yeah.
And,
For sure. I've been holding this in since we started talking, but you had mentioned hard work and pursuit and stuff like that. And so you moved out to LA and you've been doing music, and you recently just joined a band. And how has that been going? And how did you kind of get involved with them? And I was listening to their music, a lot of good stuff here.
Mhm. Oh yeah, so yeah, that's so it's an interesting story. So I was kind of I wasn't doing anything, and a friend of mine hit me up, and he was starting a band, and asked me if I was interested in joining, and I said, yeah, let's do it. He had a couple things demoed out that I liked, and so this band, The World Over, it was kind of like a band within the band. Like he had basically hired that whole band to be a part of his band,
Oh.
and then brought me in on guitar, and at the end of the day, it didn't pan out for whatever reason. But um, The World Over just asked me, "Hey, do you want to join us on guitar?" And I was like, "Yep, yeah, I do." And
So basically, your friend hired them to
yeah,
be his band, and then
uh-huh,
it didn't work out, and he brought you along to be the guitarist as well. And then when they went their own ways, they asked you to continue on with them.
yes,
That's pretty cool.
and all of us were all still great friends. It's
Oh, I'm
just
sure.
that thing just didn't work out. But I'm sure that he's going to, put together a killer band.
I'm
And
sure. And I think that in the local scene or in the scene anyway, I feel like these days musicians are in like 3 different bands anyway. You're always
yeah,
trying to find what works, and what will stick.
and it's interesting because it's like I don't know, like back in, like for instance, back in B-more, like if you're in a band, like that was your band.
Yeah.
Where here it's kind of like, yeah, you have your band, but you're also, I mean, you're taking a gig anywhere you can. If you fill in on bass somewhere, or do a guitar session here, and that's totally fine. It's how we work.
Can we play a single or play like a little clip of one of their songs?
Yeah, sure, yeah. You can
Is
throw.
there one you specifically? Now, I assume that you haven't played in any of this music yet, right? Like on the albums?
No, like so this earlier stuff, no. But we
You guys have new stuff coming out.
yeah, we're writing some new stuff that's I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think it's pretty fire.
Yeah.
And we're probably looking to release maybe in the spring. And so like the new stuff is a little bit of a departure from this stuff.
Yes. Well, this at least can give them a little glimpse of what they're kind of like, and then be excited for the new stuff that's completely different.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I love female fronted bands, man. I've been wanting to work with one for so long because I really want to find like a heavy rock one that's not like butt rock. You know, like a heavier Paramore would be great. And I've been trying to find or even play in a band like that. I would love to play drums or guitar in a band like that. So well, here's The World Over. Their single Rewind Replay. I assume this is some of the older stuff on their website, but check them out and then look out for the new music with Christian. Really cool. You know, speaking of heavier Paramore, I think that fits the bill pretty good right there. So I'm stoked to hear what you guys come up with you behind guitar, and I can't wait to see you guys live at some point. Do you remember Dinosaurs from when we were younger? Not the mama?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's coming back to Disney. So I'm just super stoked for that. I was hoping they were going to make new episodes, but I think they're just bringing the old series back. But it'll be on Disney Plus, so I can't wait for that. So something I love aliens and ancient civilizations. Like when I was younger, I hated history because I knew it was bullshit. We were taught the white man's history. But I've always loved like civilizations. Like I always wanted to be Indiana Jones when I was younger too, and like an archaeologist. I'm sure I wanted to be at some point. But they recently found the ancient Roman kind of, they say fast food, and I think that's just for the headlines, but it was basically like, you know, a market. Yeah, like street food, like when you would go around in cities now. So it's pretty cool that they unearthed this. And it was super old. Like, I don't know.
That was a buffet, right?
2,000 years old.
Yeah. And they even found like the food remnants of the food, traces of the food.
Yes, yeah. So you already saw this. Yeah. They I guess they did DNA, not DNA, but you know, they did tests, and yeah, they found remnants of food. And it matched up with the pictures on the front. So they like, this is horse. So they probably sold horse meat back then, but they had like
it might be human meat. Like the woman. Meat? Yeah, see, it's like a woman on the horse, isn't it?
Yeah, but I assume they don't mean it like that. There's fish and stuff there too, I can see. And I feel like on another one, let's see if they have other pictures.
There was one that had chicken.
But they had like donkey and shit too. Have you ever had like exotic meats?
Exotic meats.
You have these burger places now that have like camel and shit.
Yeah, what's that bar in Fells, man? The Abbey Burger.
I used to work there. That's how I know.
Yeah, that place was awesome, man. But I was kind of
so good. And they had the best owners ever. We're the best people I've ever worked for.
I always played it safe there and just kind of went like the most exotic thing would be like the bison.
Bison, yeah.
So good.
Dude, bison's great. Yeah, so we have that, which is cool. And then in entertainment news, fucking Lori Loughlin. Like I knew she wasn't gonna be in jail for more than like a couple months, and she's already out.
Who was that?
The girl, the woman from Full House that paid for her kids to be on the rowing team.
Oh yeah, okay.
She was supposed to be in jail for 2 years. I don't know what the sentence was, but it was at least 2 years, and she got out in 2 months. And I'm like, this is such a joke. Like that's why people do shit, because there's no consequences for it.
Yeah, I mean, of course you did. When you have money, anything's possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you know that's stupid. I don't know. It's so fucked up how that works.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I mean, the whole system's rigged.
Like I
Like,
believe in capitalism and working hard, and if you find a way to make money, but I don't like cutting corners. I don't like finding loophole. Like there just needs to be one set of laws that say, look, you can make your money, but then we have a responsibility as a society to pay our taxes fairly.
and that's the other thing you get into. It's like, yeah, you have so now it gets into a thing of ethics though too, right? So like, yeah, sure, you can make your money and all that, but at a certain point, when's enough? Like, is it ethical to hoard wealth? You know what I'm saying?
Like how crazy is it that there's people that are like billionaires, like, but yet, you know, everyday people are struggling, and if they gave away half of that and still be multi-billionaire, you know, millionaire or whatever.
Exactly.
It's weird to me. Like, how
Yeah.
much can you really spend in a lifetime?
People like Jeff Bezos or whatever the fuck his name is.
His
Like,
wife gives away more money than he does. His ex-wife, dude, she pretty much said she's giving away all her wealth
yeah,
by
it's
the
only
time she dies.
so much, and then the rest is just for showing off.
Yeah, it's so weird to me.
That's totally bullshit.
This is kind of cool. This a Virginia man finds a stolen 1969 Camaro after 17 years.
Oh wow.
It definitely looks like from that movie. The what was that movie? Dukes of Hazzard.
The General Lee.
It says he was reunited with the vehicle after spotting it in a garage while helping a friend buy another vehicle for his auto repair. And I wonder if it was the guy. I wonder if the garage that the guy saw it in was the guy that stole it, or if that's the guy that bought it from the guy who stole it.
A friend of mine his dad has a '69 Camaro that's red.
69?
'69 Camaro.
Dude, I'm all about just old school muscle. One day, I don't like Mustangs but I would get a 69 Mustang, obviously. But I don't know. I just like, I don't know. I like stock too. I wouldn't want to fancy it up too much. I don't need it to be a racer. I'm not a racer.
Right.
But those cars, man, just be able to like, that's why I have Jeeps. Because I'm like, I can change my oil, or change the tires if I needed to. I could do all that stuff, you know. Maryland stuff. Because you're from Maryland. Or at least you moved from here. Thousands of pounds of cheese balls spill onto Maryland Highway. Like, how random is that? And that would be such a Maryland thing. 20,000 pounds of cheese balls. I didn't know. You know how many cheese balls it has to be 20,000 pounds because they're so light?
Right.
I don't know if that's accurate, man. Like, how many? I don't even think you can fit that many into a fucking wheeler.
Fit that many into my mouth.
Snacks across lanes of traffic. I wish there was pictures of this, dude.
That's snacks.
Like, I would get out and just start picking up. But okay, so if it's spilled out, they got to be in containers, right? So there's probably like not all of them are just gonna be all over the road.
I remember one time. Do you know where Studio 14 is in Baltimore?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So a band I was in, we used to rehearse there, and I remember one time I was on my way to rehearsal, and there's a McDonald's nearby there on Route 40. And so the truck was trying to make a delivery, and I think something happened, and I think the truck was going west and then wanted to do the U-turn to get to the other side of the road. Ended up jackknifing or something.
Jeez.
But all these buns, McDonald's buns, just spilled out into the middle of Route 40. And people
Man.
coming from their houses and just getting as many as they could carry.
Really?
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Hear about the Nashville truck explosion?
Yeah, that's scary shit, man.
Dude, it's just so weird to me that we have, like, this is America, where it's like a lot of terrorism within our,
Yeah, that was what I was about to say. Make no mistake, that
look at that. Guy caught it on TV.
is a domestic terrorist. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You know what's crazy? What drives me nuts is that, people of color can't walk around with Sears without getting followed around by a security guard when they're going to steal something. But this guy can sit there and amass enough explosive material to blow up, like entire city blocks and go unnoticed.
I got that thing the other day. Like, I was in a store and the guy he was overdoing it. He kept asking me if I wanted him to hold what I was looking at the front. I'm like, can I at least look at it? Like, I'm trying to compare things here. Like, I'm not sure if I want it or not. And he was just, I'm like, why me out of everyone do you think I'm going to steal something? Like, I probably have more money in my bank account than you, but that's besides the point. The point is that, like, there was no reason. There wasn't a rhyme or reason to it. And he was trying to act like he was being helpful, but it was pretty clear what he was doing. And it was just pissing me off to the point where I'm like, I was like, just take it. Like, I'm just going to leave at this point because, I can't even like compare two things without you trying to take it from me. Like, so I'm supposed to like look at it, then come over to you, look at that, and then come back over here and look at this. Like, I can't compare two items in your store without you asking me to hold it. And I was trying to be polite. And like the first time I was like, no, I'm good. I'm just trying to figure out which one I want. He's like, okay, no problem. Comes back a minute later. Hey, do you want me to take that up to the front for you? I can hold it for, I'm like, I'm not fucking finished yet. Like, fucking let me finish looking at it. And then he leaves, and then another minute goes by. A different guy comes up and asks me if he wants me to hold it. And I said, I just told the other guy, no, I'm looking at it. Jesus.
I would have picked something off every shelf in that store and told him to hold it up front.
Well, I left, I did the thing that everyone does these. I left a bad review. So I feel like I pulled a Karen and I left a bad review about how they were racist and they followed me around the store. But
I try to take every situation I find myself in and try to have a little fun with it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, dude, it was so great to catch up with you. And, we don't get to always speak, but I have so much respect for you going out there, how hard a worker you are. You've always been one of my favorite local musicians and artists. And, I'm rooting for you, and hopefully I can get out that way at some point and we can link up and collaborate. And I'd love to have you and the band as a whole back on at some point in the future, if you guys would be willing to come back on, and we'll plan it out a little bit better. This is kind of spur of the moment, but I
really love to do this. And, everything's on, everybody's on Zoom. In fact, we just recorded a new song over the past 2 days, all via Zoom and audio with our producer. Our producer's in Arizona, and then I'm in Hollywood, and, the rest of we have our drummers in Chicago, our bass player is in New Jersey.
Damn.
And, yeah, from across the country, we collaborated and just made this brand new song. Technologies can be a beautiful thing.
I think the person that's gonna win the music industry is the one that's gonna allow people to be able to practice remotely, where it's that quick that it's like they're in the room with you, which they still haven't been able to do yet, at least that I know of. So maybe one day we can all be creating from different spaces in real time. But yeah, dude, I wish you the best, man. And when your new music with you guys comes out, with you in it, let's do another podcast, and we'll have the whole band on. Maybe you guys can share a single. All right, thanks so much, Christian. I appreciate it, man. We'll talk soon, and stay safe out there.
All right, man. Talk soon.